Okay, great. Yes, welcome everybody. This is the Concilio Latino meeting for Friday, September the 16th. And we are here today with our guest speakers, and there may be people adding as we are in the meeting. So right now we want to do some introductions. And my name is Consuelo Lara. And Madeline?
I'm Madeline Cronenberg, and I'm here representing the West Contra Costa County League of Women Voters.
Very good. And we are presently on the land of the Chochenyo, Muwekma, Karkin, Ohlone peoples, and we acknowledge them as the first inhabitants of the land we currently occupy. So let's go around, and Marcia, would you please introduce yourself?
Thank you. Good morning. I'm Marcia Tokuyoshi, and I'm the Senior Director of Ed Services at Contra Costa County Office of Education.
Thank you. And Karina, could you introduce yourself?
Hi, good morning, everybody. I'm Karina Loza. I am the Early Care and Education Services Manager here at Contra Costa County Office of Education.
Very good. And Magdalena, do you introduce
Hi,
yourself?
I am the West County District Rep and also the Immigration Caseworker here at Sonia's office.
Thank you very much. Okay, so we'll introduce others when we have a break in between the speakers. So now we are going to start with the Senior Director of Education Services to talk about Universal Pre-Kindergarten Planning and Implementation Grant Program. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. Can everyone see? Oh, beautiful. Okay, sometimes things go wonky when you hit that share button. So all good. So good morning again to everyone. It is an exciting time in California for early learning. And today, Dr. Loza and I are thrilled to present an update on Universal Pre-Kindergarten, referred to as UPK. And before starting, I just want to thank our Contra Costa County Board of Education trustee, Consuelo Lara, for the invitation to speak this morning. Thank you so much, Consuelo. It is an honor to be here and to share this work. We appreciate this space. So I will move to the next slide, and just in our short time together today, we will be looking at just an overview and legislative context around UPK, just some updates from the California Department of Education, and then how the county office has provided support and technical assistance for our districts. And truly, California is embarking on systematic change. We're moving to universal access to quality early education with the goal of having children who are better prepared for school in terms of early literacy, language, math, executive functions, and social emotional learning. So it's a really exciting time. Just some background work on where did this all start? Because in our UPK model, transitional kindergarten is a huge component, and TK is not new. It's been more than a decade since the Kindergarten Readiness Act prompted the addition of transitional kindergarten, TK. And in 2019, Governor Newsom proposed comprehensive improvements to our state's early learning and care system, along with the development of this master plan for early learning and care. Coupled with that, additionally, is our framework for planning that covers this continuum of preschool to third grade. And the P3 alignment initiative really looks at high quality, inclusive, multilingual preschool, strong early intervention services. So again, it's not just now focusing on UPK, we're really looking at preschool through third grade and how we provide the best services for our students in California. And here again, just some legislative overview with some dates. In May of 2021, Governor Newsom announced $300 million of funding for the UPK Planning and Implementation Grant Program. So this multi-year rollout includes the option of all 4-year-olds attending TK by 2025-26. So it is a multi-year initiative. And then also in September of 2021, AB 130, the budget trailer bill was signed. And this meant that LEAs are going to be receiving one-time planning and implementation funding, which is non-competitive. And then there's also opportunity for other funding for our districts and for our county office through competitive means. And we'll be talking a little bit about that as well. And then your ongoing funding in a district will come from your average daily attendance. Okay, so I'm going to pass this over to Dr. Loza to discuss some UPK key components.
Apologies, I had my mic unmute. So universal preschool, what is that, right? What are we talking about? So it's preschool to third grade framework. The California Department of Opportunities for All branch launches the P3 alignment, and it was an alignment through their website and webinar series. So this is where transitional kindergarten is a one component of universal preschool. It's a mixed method delivery system. So what are we talking about here? It's what happens due to the overwhelming research about the importance of brain development in a child's earliest years. The California Department of Education seeks to evaluate the role of high quality, inclusive, and multilingual preschool, strong early intervention services, and this was seen through the process of doing a P3 alignment. So this will give individuals an opportunity to have their little ones as early as at 4 years of age to be in transitional kindergarten. So it's one component of the delivery system. Universal preschool is a mixed delivery system to provide every 4-year-old access to quality. That's what we want to look at, quality learning before kindergarten. And then the alignment is to the preschool to third grade overall framework that the California Department of Education has come out with. So the reason why CDE is calling this universal preschool is that UTK is that TK is not compulsory. I can always have a hard time with that word. A child may choose to go to state preschool or Head Start or a private provider or stay at home with a relative. It's not saying that they have to go to TK or they have to go to their UPK area. It's saying that parents have a choice. This is giving parents a choice. Can we go to the next slide? So the intent, as I mentioned earlier, is to provide all 4-year-olds access to pre-kindergarten. Again, families have a choice of what care their child receives. So they can go to state preschool, they can go to private preschool, they can go to Head Start, they can go to any type of program that is now coming up, a mixed method. They can probably go to state preschool and at the same time go to transitional kindergarten half of the day. So it depends on what the family chooses. TK implementation will be in a phased approach. So for full implementation, we're hoping by 2025, 2026. Classrooms facilities have the same requirements as kindergarten classrooms, and they need to have accommodations for children with disabilities. So all classrooms, we're talking about inclusion, we're talking about having children with disabilities within the classrooms as well. Classroom ratios. This is something that you do not really see within the kindergarten classroom. So this is something that you'll see within the TK classrooms. They're looking at 1 to 12 and that was for this school year, for the 2022-2023 school year. So if funds are available and future legislative funding comes through, we're hoping to reduce everything to be 1 to 10 school ratio during the 2023-2024 school year. So as we move on year by year, if funding is available, we want that ratio to decrease. So that means smaller classrooms and higher quality education. So what does this mean for teachers? So teachers must have at least 24 units of early childcare or child development units, in addition to a multi-subject credential. And this starts August of next year of 2023. With some exceptions, and those exceptions are very minimal, and that would be based on a case by case scenario. So there could be some teachers that have some units that they want to talk over and see, okay, did this class qualify? Does that class qualify? So they want to, that would be some of the exceptions that they would go through. And I know I went through this very quickly. Are there any questions?
Yeah, I did have some, I had some questions about the staffing, and I'm glad to see about teachers. And you talk about what qualifications the teachers need, and because that's something that we talk about a lot, the teacher shortage and staffing of teachers and credential programs as well. So I was wondering, any of this affects community college, because usually that's where people go to get those credits, is through community college. Any connection there?
Yes. So there are connections. Everybody, so each LEA and each county office or each entity that applied for their these funds, for the EETD funds, they have, it was up to them to have in their plan how they were going to connect to the community colleges or state colleges. We mostly go with our community colleges because those are the ones closest to us. And then they will make those decisions and make those processes. The community colleges are aware of this, especially within our county. So they do know that this is coming down the pipeline and that this is very important to make sure that our teaching staff is credentialed and our teaching staff has the units necessary to meet this requirement. Funding just did come through, so that will be a little bit of a time gap because the funding just did come through. So this will definitely have a little bit of an effect on being able to meet those units, but it's not saying that there might not be some compromise in that process.
Yeah, great. Oh,
Mhm.
thank you. I'm so glad to hear that that's been included too.
Yes, definitely.
Oh,
Mhm.
great.
I have a question.
Sure.
Madeline.
What is the provision for additional childcare time? Will most of these schools just be run till 3 o'clock and follow normal school hours? Or will families be able to do an early drop off and really will it be available to working families?
Yes, it will. So it depends on each LEA and on what their plan has been. So some of the LEAs, you would need to look into that because each of them is going to be unique to each local education agency. So some of them have chosen to partner with state preschool, and they'll extend their time either before school or after school, depending on what they choose. So some of them may do kind of a middle. Some of them may go with different agencies, not necessarily state preschool, but maybe some agencies like wraparound services that have wraparound services and provide some care in the beginning in the morning maybe for like 2 hours,
Right.
and then do TK for the next 6 hours, and then do another bit of care for the rest until 6 o'clock. So it depends on each LEA. It's not to say that every plan's going to be the same, but they are talking about it, and some of them have actually started to implement that.
So when they do that, will there be a charge to the families, or will that be?
Again, that's also, it depends. It depends on the type of plan. But I know that some of the charges, I've heard personally, some of the charges are minimal compared to what they would expect to do during childcare. So there are some charges for some families, but not necessarily all.
Okay.
Mhm.
Thank you.
I'm just going to add to that.
Sure.
These are really great questions. The ELOP, the Expanded Learning Opportunities Program, requires, if you are an unduplicated pupil, that you will receive 9 hours in UPK free of charge. So how that looks like, as Karina was referencing, it's LEA based. It depends on what your ELOP indicates. And in Contra Costa County, we have many different models. I love how Karina talked about CSPP in addition to TK. That is definitely a model that some districts are looking at. Some districts are also using companies that do educational camps. So to make up their 9 hours for unduplicated students, they're running educational camps after school, but before your TK experience, they're doing visual and performing arts, so music and arts integration. It's really just an exciting time to look at equity in early learning and childcare.
So is there going to be like a dashboard or something that the county will provide so that a parent can see what the choices are, and that maybe they could be in one school district with one LEA, but really the next district over better serves them or is closer to where they work and they would want to transfer? Is that going to be available so people would know whether or not they want to do an interdistrict transfer kind of thing?
You know what? I do not know that, but I'm writing down your question. Karina, have you heard anything? I really haven't heard anything around.
I haven't heard anything around this. I haven't heard if there's going to be like a dashboard or anything like that. I know that you just mentioned that there is those interagency agreements where families can choose which school to go to, and there's also school of choice. I know that. But to know exactly where, I'm hoping that each school district will have it on their website to have that information. But a dashboard at this time, I do not know about that.
It's just that it would be really helpful to parents, I think, to be able to see, especially neighboring districts. And what happens so often, especially my experience with young children, is that you may want your young children with you where you work, which is not, I had my children. I was very fortunate. I worked in an adult school that trained students to become pre-K teachers and home care, and train them to get a certificate in running their own home care daycare. So my children weren't they were the children that they practiced on, right? And they took, my daughter went in when she was 6 weeks old.
Wow.
Into a free childcare program because they were training them to run their own at home. So I only found that out just by chance. And I'm just hoping that there's a way that California parents can have access to know what is available to them in some meaningful way, and also across the board, so that they could go over a county or over a district.
That's like Marcia said, that's a great question that we can definitely jot down as a possible resource to create, kind of like we have our COCO Kids, our resource and referral area, probably discussing that and seeing if we have something like that, kind of a resource and referral for our TK process. I think that would be great if we can do that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it'd be really helpful. I mean, I know
Yeah.
many young parents here in El Cerrito who may not qualify for some but they need to know which ones they would qualify for, which ones they wouldn't, and honestly, what to budget for.
Right, correct. Yes. It's also like word of mouth. How are we going to get that information out, and how are we going to be able to disseminate that to all our families? That's a great question.
Yeah.
Great.
Well, you have a network of the infant care providers, right?
Correct.
That's
We do.
big.
Yeah. That's a process, definitely. And we also have a resource and referral. So that will basically focus more on our early childcare component. In regards to our LEAs, we would need another component in regards to that. And there's specific school districts that's a little bit different, but definitely that's something that's a great idea.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you so
Good.
much.
All right. Can we go to the next slide, Marcia? So as I mentioned earlier, the ratios are going to change as the years go by, but what's also going to change is the age and timeline of when our little ones can go into transitional kindergarten. So this year, our ratios are 1 to 12, and we're looking at 4-year-olds whose birthdays occur between September 2nd and February 2nd. And when I saw that, I was very excited because I'm a February baby. So I couldn't go into kindergarten when I turned 5. I had to wait a whole another year. So I was very excited when I saw that. I was like, yay, that now they can go into transitional kindergarten. And as we go on, as the years go by, the months are going to change. And the hope is that by 2025, 2026, we can offer transitional kindergarten to 3-year-olds whose 4th birthday occurs by September 1st. So now we're talking about going towards our younger 4-year-olds. So that's our hope, that we can begin to offer that and everybody can have that opportunity. So so far, we're at a 1 to 12 ratio. Hopefully we get to our 1 to 10 and we can start servicing our young 4-year-olds that are going to turn 3 between by September 1st. That would be amazing, to have all that. But I'll hand it on over to Marcia and we'll move on to our next topic.
Thank you. So implementation, I'm sure as you can imagine, there's a lot of work happening and a lot of work that needs to be done. Our qualified workforce and hiring those teachers, also preparing facilities, providing professional development, rethinking instruction for young learners coming into the TK-12 system. So many shifts are happening. How LEAs are being held accountable right now to this work, that every district needs to turn in a UPK plan by September 30th to CDE. So the 5 bullets on this slide are referencing the various components of the plan. What is your district's vision? What's the vision and coherence around UPK? Community engagement and partnerships. Obviously, you can't make these decisions, especially around a 9-hour day, without getting input from your parents and your community and your partners that may even offer some of the expanded learning, such as YMCA. Then also workforce recruitment. Not only how are we going to hire our teachers, recruit our teachers and paraeducators, but how are we going to train them in terms of professional learning, curriculum, instruction, and assessment. And then lastly, again, facilities, services, and operations. Karina mentioned that TK classrooms need to meet the requirements of kindergarten classrooms, and they are totally different requirements in terms of bathrooms, playground equipment, room size. So every district now is working on their plan if they haven't finished it, because they are due on September 30th to the CDE. And then what are we doing as a county office to support our districts in this work? All of this is so exciting to me, having been an elementary principal and before that a kindergarten teacher. Like, I'm just so excited about everything happening in early learning. This support is just it's some of the best work that I'm going to say we've done as an agency, and it's because of the passion also that we have for it. So starting in December of 2021, we asked all of our districts in the form of a survey that what would best support their needs for UPK implementation. And based on the data that we received from our districts, we created a UPK work group. And with that work group, we hosted monthly meetings, and all of the topics were based on the survey data. So we came together, we talked about implementation practices, we talked about the different components of the UPK plan so that everyone would have their plan ready to submit by September 30th. We're almost there, which is exciting. And then other technical assistance, our team reviewed plans if districts wanted us to do a comprehensive review before submission. We also had our partners at the county office or the county level come together, first 5, talking about their services, Cocoa Kids talking about the services that they can offer too for UPK. We created a question directory based on FAQs that were coming in to us. So everyone had access to this in our UPK work group. And then we created sample agendas for the meetings that our districts were having with their parents. We created a PowerPoint template for the board presentation, which was also a requirement that by June 30th, a board presentation be done on what is UPK. And then lastly, something that our COE team did, which I am super proud of, is that we did apply for the Early Education Teacher Development Grant, which was a competitive grant from the California Department of Education. And on August 26th, we received notice that we received $2.31 million to the county office to support our 16 LEAs that offer TK. And what this money will pay for, as Karina talked about the required 24 ECE units, this funding is going to pay for every teacher who needs to complete those units. We are also paying for paraeducators to receive 12 units, either from DVC, Los Mandanos, or Contra Costa County Community College. So it's a strong partnership with our institutions of higher education. And within our own department, because we have a curriculum and assessment team, we also host the California Preschool Instructional Network for the Bay Area region. We also wrote into our grant to have professional learning on 5 different areas. So one is culturally responsive instruction, dual language and multilingual learning, social emotional learning, restorative practices, and then the last piece is mitigating implicit biases. So we'll offer this professional development to preschool teachers, TK teachers, and kindergarten teachers. And then, since we didn't want to exclude our leaders of early learners, we also built in funds to bring district teams to the National Association of Education of Young Children for their annual conference, which this year will be in Santa Clara. So we're really looking at what we can provide our teachers, our new teachers, our paraprofessionals, and then our leaders. We're so excited about the grant and being able to disseminate this the funding to our districts. And then also just as ongoing on our CCCOE website, we have a UPK page of resources. And this is so interesting because I get calls from other county offices asking, hey, can you talk to me more about this resource, or where can I get more information? And they actually have found us on our website. So this has been a great vehicle for just ongoing information. And also it goes farther than Contra Costa County as well. So this is a lot of information. It takes us to the end of our formal presentation. I will stop sharing and just see if there are any questions.
Gosh, this is so great. I love seeing the amount of technical support that's being provided for everyone. And you know, this is something we want to definitely follow along, and you know, look at some best practices that are out there who are using this, and maybe even invite them to come and share their experiences. And we can do that. If you know some really great programs out there, you think, oh, people should know about this. We love to recognize best practices here. So in a lot of different ways. So thank you very much. I just think this is wonderful that it's all in one place here, and there's so many people I'm going to send this to and let them know about this information. Can't think of any other. Our other speaker didn't show, so we got a few minutes. Madeline, unmute.
Thank you. So I'm curious about the facilities impact. All right. So when particularly school districts that are looking at closing schools and selling property, because they haven't necessarily incorporated the need for these for all these additional classrooms. So has there been an effort to reach out to facilities departments? Is there a best practice in making sure if you have a school closure list, you're making sure you have the additional classrooms that are going to be required for this? That's what I'm curious about.
A big part of the needs assessment and the UPK plan is to think of your projection, since, as Karina mentioned, 2025-26 is your full implementation. So all of our districts have projections in terms of number of classrooms. I think one great thing for UPK and TK specifically, is classes can be back to back. And I'm sure that most districts are leveraging that. So there's a morning section and an afternoon section.
But if it's a 9-hour program, then children are being moved around, right?
Yes. Yes.
They're not staying in their classroom for 9 hours.
No, they're definitely being moved around. All the
So where are they going for the other 5 hours?
Oh, so it's either, as Karina was saying, California state preschool programs. Some districts are partnering with YMCA. So they're actually
taking them
yes.
out
Mm-hmm.
of the, they're not going to be in the school bill. So you have that brings in the whole other world of transportation of very little children.
Yeah. So it again, it depends on each LEA's plan. So there can be some transportation, some can stay on site, because some schools do have some state preschool programs on their sites already. So they can partner with them and work with that. So again, each plan is going to be different for each facilities, as Marcia was saying. A big one is playgrounds. Having access to the playgrounds and having age appropriate playgrounds. So, and also like Marcia said, we're looking at this year was planning for implementation. So this is when you're planning this year, and then doing those projections for all the way up to 2025, 2026. So this year we're in the planning stages. We're in our setting our baseline.
Right.
So yeah.
Right. But at the same time, and what you're doing at the same time is looking at the demographics, right? So that if you
Correct.
have the community I live in has an expectation of 1,000 apartments that will be built by then that don't exist right now.
Oh, wow.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And the only elementary school near them is already impacted.
Mm-hmm.
So the question is, what are you will you serve those children? Right?
And that would be the question for the school district to find those facilities. Yes.
Right. So now they're required to do that. That's an absolute requirement on them, right?
Correct. For this planning. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think that everybody, in particular board members, need to understand this, because it has to be part of their facilities directions that they're giving to their team.
Correct.
And that's why I think it's important for us to share this out, so that board members understand, as they're looking at, a lot of school districts are looking at closing schools right now. Right? There are all of these lists of closing schools, and from what I've listened to, nowhere in their conversation do they say, oh, but we need to really look at these additional classrooms that we are now mandated to provide by a certain time. It's like not, and it needs to be part of that conversation. So that's just my little.
Yeah.
I'm positive that's why there was a mandatory board presentation for all LEAs by June 30th.
Yes.
I'm positive that was one of the reasons.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Great. Oh my gosh, this is a lot of moving parts to this, a lot of
Mhm.
components, and it is very exciting. It is.
It is.
I'm so happy that this is happening. And gosh, it's so needed. And getting our students prepared. And I know that Newsome, this has always been kind of his pet project, hasn't it? So
Yep.
years.
Yes.
So, wow.
Yep.
Just really happy to see this happening. You know what I also think about is the whole third grade learning, reading issue.
Mhm.
And so there could be a lot of
Yes.
reading
Yes.
activities going on there. I mean, this is just very far reaching.
It's really high on language development. This is where you're talking about language development.
Yes, absolutely. We might just have you come back and give us a
Oh,
report.
absolutely.
Yeah.
We would love to.
Yes.
So yes. Oh, this is wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the invitation.
Absolutely. Let me see if Magdalena, did you have anything to ask or to share about this topic?
I don't have any questions at this time, but I do want to state that I know that this is a big priority for the congressman. And if you would want to communicate with him or need assistance from the office, I'm happy to connect you with the appropriate staff here in our office.
Great.
I'll drop my contact information in the chat right now in case you need for
Thank you.
any information you may need from our office or support.
It's great. Thanks.
Yeah, that would be good. Send it off his way. That would be great. And let's see. Oh, and then Marissa, did you want to introduce yourself real quick? Oh, that's cute.
Oh,
Yeah.
fancy.
Hello,
Yeah.
hi.
Fancy.
Happy Mexican Independence Day.
Yes.
I'm Marissa Frias. I think I know just about everybody except for Magdalena on this call, but I am a community member of West Contra Costa, and I also work with the County Office of Education with the 2P program. And I am the union president of Local 1 representing classified employees. Many, many hats. I'm so glad to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. All right. Okay, do we have any last comments or questions, Madeline? We're good.
No, I'm good. Yeah.
Yeah.
I learned so much, and I really do hope you come back and we get an update, and
That'd be
maybe
great.
I'll create a dashboard, and then
Yeah.
this is what always happens. I came up with the idea, I should create something to show you what I mean.
That'd be great. Yes.
That's how I feel too. Somebody
Thank
should do this. Oh, wait, it's probably gonna be me. Thank you so much. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great rest of your day.
Oh, you
Have a
too.
good meeting.
Hey, thanks.
Thanks.
Very good. Oh my gosh, that was so good. So, this is the time for any announcements from the community that of things that are going on, or programs that people want to share. at any time. So, yes, Madeline.
The League of Women Voters of West Contra Costa County is having its annual meeting tomorrow, and it's going at Fern Cottage. It's a luncheon. There's a cost for it, but we welcome anybody who wants to get a ticket and come and join us. We're going to have speakers from BWAPA, Black Women Organized for Political Action, from 350 California, which 350 Contra Costa, which is a environmental justice group, and the Safe Return Project will also be speaking. So everyone is welcome to join us tomorrow.
And they can get tickets online.
Online.
Or
Online.
get them at the door.
They can pay at the door, or they can get their tickets online. Just go to search for League of Women Voters, West Contra Costa County.
Okay. And I know the Contra Costa County is having their Teacher of the Year celebration gala on Thursday, the 22nd at Lesher Theater. And again, you can get the tickets online as well. So that's another big event coming up. Yeah, so Marissa or Magdalena, do you have any announcements?
I have one. I'm in regular communication with the USCIS field office here in San Francisco, and they share with me resources and events that are coming up. Every month what they do is they set up webinars that are for the community, just anybody. You don't have to be in the government, you don't have to be a citizenship teacher, just anybody that wants to show up can show up to these online webinars where they give, they have liaisons or community liaisons or even just immigration officers present to the public the basics on, how can you become a US citizen? How can you work? How can you obtain a work permit? How can you file an application for a spouse, a child, etc. And I sometimes just watch these just to refresh my own, just to get a refresher. But if anybody in the public is interested or any citizenship teachers may be interested in this, I'm happy to relay this information. I'll actually also put it here in this chat for anybody that wants to know. So it did already start at the beginning of this month.
Welcome, my fellow.
That was him. I can't
So
do
it
it.
started at the beginning of this month, and every month they release new dates, and some are in Spanish, some are in ASL, some are in Arabic. But the point is to get just everyday constituents to have like a basic understanding of how to do these things. So I know there's a lot of misinformation out there, and there's a lot of notarios who don't always know what they're doing, and they charge so much money. So it might be really beneficial to constituents in the district.
That would be great. And we also have a Facebook, the Concilio Latino Facebook page. So if you can send those links and those, we can share them. There's different places where we can put those out as well. Those sound
Okay.
really important.
Are they on their YouTube page, Magdalena?
I don't think so. I'm trying to find a way to add this attachment to the chat so that you can, have this. I have a flyer. So I'm trying to get this over to this chat, but I can also just respond to the to you, Consuelo. You can distribute it.
You could email it or to me as well, so that we could send that out. That sounds great.
Okay.
Okay, great. Thank you. Marissa, you got any announcements?
The only thing I can think of is that there's a California Coastal Cleanup Day also, but it's also on September 17th in Pinole, and it's from 9 to noon at Bayfront Park. So just wanted to share that.
It's a lot of things tomorrow.
Yeah, there's a lot of things happening.
They come to the lunch. I mean, they
Yeah. Clean it up and then come over at
clean up.
unfortunately
Yeah,
it's 11 o'clock. They're both at 11.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
said that you don't have to stay the entire time, but just kind of.
Yeah.
All righty, that sounds good. Okay, well, we're gonna have to re-invite our other guests another time, so because things happen, people can't make it, but we will re-invite them for sure to come and speak. So I think we're all done for today.
I think so.
All right.
I'm going to stop the recording then, right?
All right. Yes, thank you, everybody.